TARDIS. Backyard TARDIS is already in the house. How's it going, nerds? Day of old league crossovers. Yes, that's right. If you guys remember, Andre was part of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen on Twitter. He just recorded with Ro this morning. Oh, that's cool. How's Ro doing, man? I haven't talked to him in a minute. Well, yeah, Andre just asked me about that. He's like, how did you do it, man? You left Twitter and you never came back. Like everybody talks about doing it, but nobody actually does it. And I'm like, yeah, that was me.
we all know that Twitter is bad for us. Like it's genuinely not good for your health.
Yeah.
But there is a level of addiction to Twitter that like it's so hard to actually leave. So
yeah, it is quantifiable. Like there's been like magazine reports, and I mean I know it's published information, which is not what we're used to. But yeah, they'll tell you flat out, don't use these things; they are bad for your health.
Yeah,
and we're like, you know what? I'm gonna smoke a pack a day.
Dude, there's people out there. I don't know how they do it, man. There's people out there that use Twitter for hours on end. They're just tweeting all day long, getting angry at like ridiculous things. I couldn't do it anymore, man. It's just like you'd say, "Oh, hey, I really like this movie that just came out," and you'd have like 50 people in the comments telling you that you're a freaking fat cow who doesn't understand film. I'm just like, why am I here?
Oh, here, let me say this though, because I was actually having this conversation with a friend the other day because he spends a lot of time on Twitter too. But I've noticed though that almost all of kind of nerd / film interactions that I have on Twitter are from people that have anonymous accounts. It's like they just have some type of just an avatar as a profile picture. They usually don't even have their name, but and they're usually some type of stan account as well, right? And so, and I am convinced that most of these people are under the age of 20. And so, being a 30-something-year-old, knowing that like there are these anonymous teenagers that are like kind of getting me riled up, I'm like, why am I still on Twitter?
Yeah, that's what I said. I mean, I enjoyed the heck out of having the league chat. You guys were all fantastic, but I talked about it for months. I was like, guys, I'm really not feeling Twitter right now. I try not to use it. I'm like, the only reason I use it is to come on here and chat with you guys. And then I started building my Discord, and I was kind of looking at that as like, this is going to be my own little corner of the internet that I can have a lot more say as to what goes on, and we can, if there's somebody in the room that's just not going to jive with us, that doesn't have the right vibe, then we can, escort them out, and we can just go along our merry way and have a good time. And our Discord app has been incredible. Like I haven't had to do that to anybody, which is amazing. Like I've never had to like reach out to somebody and say, hey, you're kind of being rude to everybody in the chat. Like that's never happened. My Discord has been amazing, and it's been growing. We have over 150 people that are joining the server right now, which is not a big number, mind you. There's huge Discords out there, but it's a great community, and I look forward to opening that app and seeing what's going on in Nerd World. So it's been a great alternative, and we can do video sharing. We can do all kinds of cool stuff. We're doing a watch party later tonight after the live stream. So it's like, it opens up so many more doors to have good interactions with people than just like Twitter, where you get like, 180 angry characters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's just sitting alone with your insane thoughts, reading other people's insane thoughts, responding to their insane thoughts, and it's not like you're learning from each other. It's not like you read it. And you're like, you know what? I never thought about that.
You're never going to change anybody's mind on Twitter ever. It doesn't matter what the topic is.
You could give them amazing advice and like put like information in there that change their whole lives.
Yeah.
And you're probably racist, so I'm not going to read that.
What's up, JT? JT's in the chat. How you doing, buddy? It's good to see you. It was funny. I had an interaction with like a paleontologist or something. I can't remember. It was some kind of a person that had a blue check mark, and they were like a doctor or whatever. And for whatever reason, they decided to like respond to my tweets. And I had linked them. It was a recorded college. What do you call it when the guy just stands? A college lecture. It was a recorded college lecture from this other guy. And I was like, hey, I disagree with you on whatever topic, and here's something that I learned based off this, PhD freaking professor guy. Here, why don't you check it out? Maybe you'd enjoy it. And they were like, I don't watch things on YouTube. And I'm like, doctor, talking about the same subject. Why is it because it's on YouTube Or Twitter, you know, it's a link on Twitter that you can't. It's just
Hey man, I live in my happy little bubble.
Yeah.
How dare you come trying to pop my happy little bubble? I wake up happy, I go to bed happy, all my little boxes are checked. I got it. I don't need you.
No, I just couldn't do it anymore, man. Like there was so much negativity that I was just like, you know what? It ain't worth it. And the most popular people and the most popular posts were the ones that got people the angriest. And I'm like, that's not
Sure.
Well, yeah.
I don't want to feed into that system.
Look, there's honestly 7 angry people in all of the United States, and they're the ones getting everything done. It's like 7 people. They are pissed. They've got like 800 accounts each. They're just posting hate blogs everywhere.
Oh my gosh! Have you heard about those? Oh, go ahead, Andre.
This is okay. This is very relevant to what you guys are talking about right now. I just read this article today about demographic statistics in terms of Twitter users and how many people in the US are Twitter users. Okay, listen to this. 3% of the population sends out 90% of all tweets or of Twitter users. Okay, so 3% of all Twitter users send out 90% of all tweets. Wow. Only 8% of the US population is active on Twitter. Okay,
that sounds right.
Yeah. So it's incredible. Like, right. So you think like these social media platforms, they are marketed as it's a way to connect us, and it's a way for you, you know, to add your voice to, you know, this collective discussion. And yet 90% of all the tweets are tweeted by only 3% of users. So,
yeah,
you know, most people are there just, you know, scrolling and liking, you know. So
yeah, I mean, JT's in the chat. He's like, me and R2 have fun on Twitter. Like, if you can manage it for your own benefit and you can have fun with it, by all means, it's a social media app. There's benefits and pros and cons to each one. For me, the cons just outweighed the pros, and I was like, you know what, it's going to be best if I just bail out. I focused on Instagram, which is a lot less trolly if you stay in the right lanes and you just kind of do your own thing.
It feels less trolly.
It definitely does feel less. You can if you find a post on
even Facebook turned into something ugly over the past like 5 years. It's not even fun anymore.
Facebook is unrecognizable.
and all the directed marketing that I get, I swear to God, I was literally loading the dishwasher and something came up for like new dishwashers, and I'm like, how is this possible?
Oh, your phone is listening to every word that you're saying, dude.
It listened to me load the dishwasher. It knew I hated the dishwasher. It knew I needed a new one.
It knows everything about you, man. You put like I was on. I went through like a.
Hey, we agreed we were going to do conspiracy.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. No more conspiracy talk.
Without proper experience.
Well, that's because you went on some freaking rant about the moon landing, and I was just like, I don't know if I can say anything about this.
Oh, you want me to get started?
No.
Oh man!
But Nick over here says it's all about how you curate Twitter. I am on my 3rd account. That should tell you something, Nick.
See? Yeah, that should tell you something.
Each time I learn from my mistakes and form a better experience, dude. That's way too much work for me. Dude. I'm not going through 4 accounts.
I'm not trial and erroring my way through life like that. You know what I'm saying?
Good on you, though. Good on you. My wife is in the chat, so I was so glad when you got off Twitter. Yeah, I was a much happier person, for sure. But anyway, thank you guys all.
It all just feels so personal, right? Why does it feel so personal? Why?
I don't know, dude. Like I got personally attacked by the director of Indiana Jones 5. Like he came after me.
Yeah,
I was like, what is going on?
That put Salty Nerd on the map, man. I remember. I freaking remember that.
You see?
Oh my goodness.
It's the hate that puts you on the map.
I know, but that's the thing though. It's like I like being salty. I like making fun of things. We kind of poke fun at movies and stuff. But I was like, I never wanted to be the person who got like where they are because of like outrage and because of something terrible. I'm just like, that's not how I wanted this to go down, man.
Are you literally trying to say the Salty Nerd podcast wasn't about being salty?
No, it's about having it. Okay, so it started out like this, right? I got to explain this. So it was Pablo Hidalgo. I don't know if he's still involved with Lucasfilm or not, but he's like the story writer guy for Lucasfilm, and he put me on a list of like these huge YouTubers that I had like 200 subscribers at the time. He put me on this list of toxic fans, and he's like, these are just a bunch of toxic, salty nerds. And
What?
hey, bro. I'm like, bro.
Pablo Hidalgo
Yeah.
specifically called out the Salty Nerd podcast.
Yeah, I mean, it was like 3 years ago, dude. 3 years ago at least. And it was bananas. And I looked at that list and I'm like, I'm like nothing compared to these people. All these people have like hundreds of thousands of subs. I'm at that point when he made that post, I did one podcast about The Last Jedi and how much it sucked, where I sat down with my friends and we watched the movie, and I did a commentary on the movie, and we just called out everything. And I that was my only thing that I put out there.
Deserved it.
And I'm like,
every ounce.
That one thing got me labeled as like this horrible, freaking basically a Nazi kind of. And I'm just like, you've got to be kidding me. So like ever since then, I've been like, look, I can make fun of things. I can poke holes in movies. We can have a good time with it, and you don't have to be like a horrible person to do that. Like criticism does not equal like outraged hate. It's not the same thing. So,
but this is the state of nerd culture right now. Okay, so nerd culture has essentially been purchased by every corporation out there. Okay,
you mean Disney at this point?
yeah.
Well, I mean, whether it's Disney or Warner Brothers or whatever corporate entity, they own the IPs that we grew up loving as kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it no longer belongs to the people that loved it and that made it popular, the nerds. It belongs to these mega corporations, right?
That is true. I mean, when you try to make something taste good for everybody, it tastes bad for everybody. Is that right?
No, absolutely. No, that's actually really good. But what these corporations do though is that when they think that because they now own the IP that you love, that you will still love it because of whatever, because it is what they bought. But they don't understand that there's something much deeper about these things that we love that go much further than just the logo and the brand of the IP itself, right? And so people like Pablo Hidalgo, who works for Lucasfilm, thinks that we should love everything that they're making that has the Star Wars logo on it. And so it's like confusing to them when we don't, like
JT is in the comment. He said nerdom became mainstream and now it's dying. Do you guys remember when being a nerd was like not the popular thing to be? I do.
Oh yeah, for sure. No. Riding my bike to the comic book store was not cool.
No. Having a Star Wars backpack was not the cool thing to do.
Playing Magic the Gathering in middle school was not cool.
This was, so this is either you were an open nerd and you weren't very popular, or you had friends, but you were a closet nerd and you were afraid to tell your friends that you actually like this stuff.
That you love sci-fi, that you love comic books, that you read books. How about that you read books? That Final Fantasy is a fun video game. You should give it a try. Madden is not the only game out there.
So and nerdom can mean a ton of different things. It doesn't just mean like board games or comic books or anything. It could mean you could be a nerd about anything. And I remember one time I had found online somewhere, I found this script to the movie Seven. And I remember I read the script because I love that movie. It was so mind-blowing to me. Like that was one of the darkest, weirdest freaking movies I'd ever seen at that point when I was younger. And I watched that movie and I'm like, man, this is crazy. And I found out like through a couple of links, I was reading some forum and there was like, oh, here's a link to the original script that was penned by, the screenwriter. And I read it and there was a lot different about that than what was translated into the movie. And I found that fascinating. That was like my first intro into like the backstage of making movies. And I remember I went to school and I was so excited. I wanted to tell somebody. I'm like, I just read the script to Seven. And I remember this freaking jock looked at me like, who cares, nerd? And I'm like, man.
All of these intellectual properties have been co-opted into what they call, they're lifestyle brands. That's what they are. Which is why it has wide appeal to the most generic population. That's what they, it's like wearing Nike. It's like, you don't wear them because they feel good on your feet. You wear it just because it's some logo. That's what Star Wars and Marvel's become. It's just, it's a lifestyle brand.
because we've gone as a podcast because we can't compete with the bigger channels as far as like talking about Star Wars and Marvel and all that stuff. We just get buried in the algorithm. So we're like, so as a podcast, we decided like let's do some counter programming. Let's look out and see what other kind of nerdy properties are out there that nobody else is really talking about. And I'm curious now, like who do you guys think are those little gems of like nerd culture that aren't very popular, but they're really good? Like they're better than Marvel, they're better than Star Wars right now because they are just true to themselves and they're like an actual piece of nerdy sci-fi or something.
Oh, I mean, for me, it's The Expanse. I know you've seen some of it, and me and Kadish have seen pretty much all of them. The Expanse is super sci-fi, super well done, very Game of Thrones in space, right? But no one talks about it. You never hear about. I've never heard anything about The Expanse, and it's definitely one that's always on my front radar. And even when a new season comes out, I don't even know about it. It breaks my heart that I love a show so much that has so many layers and it's so well developed. I mean, yeah, it does take, that certain Battlestar Galactica vibe that you need to appreciate.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't get any love on the mainstream. And why? Why?
I don't know. I watched the first 2 seasons and I thought it was wonderful. It's one of those shows that you kind of have to chew on. Like you said, it's like a Game of Thrones in space. Like there's a lot of moving pieces. So it's not a show like you would think of as like a sci-fi show from like the 90s or 80s, like a Star Trek, where you can throw it on in the background, you can catch an episode here and there. They're all very separate. This show, like, it goes deep. Real quick before we get into it, thank you for the $5, Andre Anderson. Thank you for being here. Hello, how are you doing, sir? Really appreciate it. Andre, what is a show or some kind of property that you think like is a standout property that nobody talks about that kind of fits that classic nerd culture?
I mean, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to put my finger on anything right now that is new or original, because most things that are coming out of Hollywood right now are either reboots, adaptations of something that's already popular or familiar, like video games. Like video games, that kind of seems to be the thing right now that are, like The Witcher on Netflix. We're getting the Halo series on Paramount Plus.
New Witcher game just announced, developing it as we speak. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that just came out today. So I think video games seem to be even, Sonic 2 is coming out, so video games kind of seem to be the thing right now. But I guess something more recently that just popped in my mind is the Adam Project. I don't know if you guys saw it on Netflix.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Shout out to Jonathan Tropper, who wrote that movie. He's a friend of the podcast. Cool guy.
Nice.
Really nice dude.
Nice. Well, man, if he's listening to this, major props, because it's not a perfect movie, and that's fine. It didn't need to be. It was an original story, and that's something that I appreciate today. It was an original story that attempted to kind of recreate kind of that magic of 80s kid adventure movies. Yeah. And I loved it. I loved every minute of that movie. I thought it was extremely heartfelt, and it was original. And that just seems to be something that is like Hollywood is incapable of creating original stories.
It's a risk. It's a bigger
Ryan
risk.
Reynolds. Yeah. For Ryan Reynolds, it was very emotional. Like it was actually like it was dramatic. It wasn't exactly funny. It wasn't Ryan Reynolds. It wasn't Deadpool.
Yeah.
It was a risky. I think it was a risky movie, and I think it paid off.
I think so too.
It was a throwback just to those. In essence, it's a family movie. I mean, the movie itself centers around the relationships of the son with his mother, the son with his dad, and with his older self. And I don't know. It hit me where I wanted it to, and man, if Netflix and other studios can make movies like that, yes, take risks on original stories. Everything else is just either a sequel or a reboot.
I'm gonna address the chat because there's a couple of good things. I love this. JT says 3D printing is pretty nerdy. I agree. I've seen some incredible things. These people, the people who are into 3D printing, dude, they go hard. They go out there, they find these 3D designs and they piece them together one by one, and they make these freaking ginormous, awesome outfits. I've seen like Iron Man outfits that look as good as the movies. Like, it's incredible what they can do with 3D printing these days. So I will agree with you. 3D printing is one of those nerdy things. My wife says Outlander is totally nerdy. It is technically sci-fi. There's time travel involved. It is a nerdy show, so I will give you that. Absolutely.
I can't do Outlander. I can't do it.
What? Did you get to that season 1 episode where they do some dirty stuff to Jamie?
Dude, I heard about it. It's like finding out the end of Old Boy before you see Old Boy. You're like, do I really want to see that? Do I really want to be knowing that I'm seeing this? It makes it a whole weird thing, and I'm like, no, I don't want to see that.
Andre says, The Expanse, I'm so pissed they haven't gotten the season 6. Is that season 6 not out yet?
No, I think 5 just finished.
Okay. I still got time
and 5
to
was good. It's good. You have to watch it though.
I'm looking forward to it.
You have to watch it. Yeah, you have to actually sit down. And you can't be on your phone. You actually have to sit there and watch it.
Yeah, it's something you got to chew on.
Yeah, it's too in depth.
$5 super chat from Backyard TARDIS. Finch, because I have a heart and love dogs. Finch is a terrible movie, Nick.
Yeah, is it the Apple Plus one?
Yeah, that was a terrible movie.
It looked fine. I didn't watch it. Was it terrible? Was it dumb?
I hated it. Kadish and Jude loved it. I don't know. I guess it depends on who you are.
Nick, I don't even know who they are anymore.
Nick obviously loves it. Oh, dude, I'm speaking of, because Tom covered us or covered Vader for last week when we did video game movies, like classic 80s video game movies where like war games where Matthew Broderick plays against the computer for nuclear holocaust and all this crazy stuff. And I'm editing this part of the movie or of the podcast where we're talking about The Wizard and how much you love that movie. And me and Jude are just slamming that movie, how terrible it is. Oh. And you were like, I don't like you guys anymore.
Oh, it was mean. It's like your inner child died in front of me. And I was like, it's The Wizard, man.
Salty nerd, bro.
Oh, it's so salty. You two.
Here, how about this one? And I'll bring this one up just because one, Kadish isn't here to tell me how much he hates Zack Snyder, and I know you guys are fairly ambivalent towards.
I basically like Zack Snyder movies.
Yeah, I'm with.
I'm a pretty big fan of his movies. But so I don't know if you guys know his story regarding his movie that's going to come out on Netflix. Like I think next year. I think it's scheduled to be the end of next year. It's Rebel Moon, and so it's
Rebel
his
Moon.
Star Wars movie. So, years ago, he had a script and he pitched a Star Wars movie to Lucasfilm, and Lucasfilm said no. And so, and he credits Star Wars as like what got him into filmmaking anyway. Like he was a teenager, seeing Star Wars in the theater. And so he has always had this like really passionate love of Star Wars. And he had this idea for a Star Wars story, but they said no to his film, and so he turned it into his own property. And so that's going to be on Netflix next year, Rebel Moon. And everything that has been released regarding the story, the images and things like that, it looks very space opera-esque, and it's an original story, man. It's going to be something new.
The synopsis says, the people of a galaxy sends a young woman to seek out warriors from other planets to help them from the tyrannical armies that are terrorizing their peaceful colony. That does sound very Star Wars-ish.
It sounds very Magnificent Seven.
Oh, no, yes. For sure.
Yeah. Absolutely.
No, he's been very clear, like what his like kind of.
Which I like Magnificent Seven. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. I like that, and every adaptation of it, even the Kurosawas. I like that. I like that trope. I like
the Magnificent Seven is an adaptation of Kurosawa. I believe.
I like that trope though. I do. I love it. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
trope.
for sure.
Oh, it never gets old. You can.
The bad guys seeking redemption. It's cool, man. It's
There's
cool.
some concept art from IMDb. Yeah, that's a classic Star Wars or Dune or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
So, but it's got vibes.
Original story, man. Original story. That's what I'm saying. It's not a reboot. It's not adaptation.
It will be visually striking. That we do know.
Yes. It will look gorgeous.
It will look amazing.
The substance, we'll see. We'll have to see.
The contrast, boom.
My wife says Warehouse 13 doesn't get enough love. That is absolutely true. I do enjoy that show. I think we're probably going to cover that eventually for our club members because we've been doing like classic sci-fi stuff. on the side of our normal podcast for like extra content for people who sign up for the membership. And we've done like Doctor Who, we've done we're doing Stargate pretty soon. We're doing Eureka right now for this month. It's going to be. So I think Warehouse 13 is definitely going to be on that list. Oh, Kadish is in the chat, ready to destroy Zack Snyder. Rebel Moon is literally the Seventh Samurai in space. Nothing original about it.
Well, that's what I just said. But we all like that trope.
Why is he got?
Hey, can you block Matt Kadish from this chat? No haters, all right? No haters.
I like Dance of the Wolves. I like Avatar. I like all those kinds. I like that.
Well, here's the thing. I've had this argument with people before, and I think I've had this argument with Kadish. Like, there's a difference between doing a rip-off of something and paying homage to it, but it's very hard to tell sometimes. Like, Quentin Tarantino famously has come out and said, I rip everybody off that I see. If I see a movie that I like and there's a scene that I like about it, I literally rip it off and put it in my own movie. Like, you can watch like Kill Bill, and there's literally scenes from Kill Bill that are ripped from like old school Hong Kong cinema.
But
like,
that's what Star Wars is. I mean, Star Wars, George Lucas didn't come up with these ideas himself. I mean, he took Dune, he took Foundation, he took, what was that serial? Anyway, I mean,
well, from what I understand, he got really
Jesus.
into Joseph Campbell, and that's when he wrote Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
After reading Hero of a Thousand Faces, that's when he wrote Star Wars. Right?
Netflix's most popular franchise is Stranger Things. Stranger Things is nothing but just a collection of 80s movies.
Which is why we like it. It's member berries.
No, yeah. But
it's member berries, but it does a good job of having.
It's Goonies, it's Ghostbusters.
It's Goonies, it's E.T., it's Ghostbusters, it's Alien. Yes. But it's still original though. It's still original. Like it's Flash Gordon. There you go.
I think it's original enough.
Thanks, Nick. Flash Gordon. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers. There's it was funny because I was doing a podcast like very earlier on. I did a podcast about what influenced Star Wars, and I was doing some research on it. And there was literally a scene from Flash Gordon that had freaking Cloud City in it. It was literally a floating city. It was the same shape, everything. And there's a ship that flew into it. And I was like, oh my god, that's literally Cloud City. Lando Calrissian's going to come out. It was crazy.
And the idea for Coruscant having a planet be an entire city, that's taken straight from Foundation. So I mean, but they're used to create something new, and I don't mind it at all. I mean, it's
I got to show that this. God dang it, Kadish. When your movie is a big budget remake of Battle Beyond the Stars, which is also a remake of Seven Samurai, is not an homage. It's theft. Come on, bro.
Kadish is just letting his personal feelings get in the way. But he's not on here. Like, I'm on here, so I'm
the first
I'm
10 chapters.
Zack Snyder's honor.
The first 10 chapters of your Earthman Jack book is The Last Starfighter. Like, it's the same. Like, man.
Don't you start this. Don't you start this. We're trying to have a nice time. Hey, let's talk about The Boys. Hey.
Yeah. What's The Boys? Diabolical. That's the topic of discussion tonight, everybody.
It's a good transition, right? It's original programming that we're all into. The Boys, super awesome original programming. Good transition.
Nick, Tatooine is too.
Oh, man. The Boys. Okay, so let's get into this. Let me pull up real quick just the episode list so that I have a reference for it. But did you guys get a chance to watch it? I know I mentioned it beforehand. Yeah. So for people who don't know, The Boys is an Amazon original series that is based off of a comic book that takes a very cynical look at superheroes and what they would actually be like if you were to encounter somebody like Superman in the real world. What would he be like as a person? And this comic book takes a very, like I said, very cynical view of it, and they are not nice to superheroes. So you have to watch the show. The show is on I think season 3 is coming out fairly soon. But the first 2 seasons were incredible. They were so fun, so like over the top and raunchy. I love the show. I think it's really, really good.
It's incredibly well written. It's very well written.
Yeah.
Well, it's surprising. You don't see this show coming. You just don't see it coming. It's way more violent and way darker than you ever think it's going to be. But that being said, it's not a turnoff. The darkness is definitely what draws you in. It is evil for all the right reasons.
Yeah, and they do have a lot of shock content. So if you're not into blood and guts and gore and crazy things being melted, then it's probably not the show for you. But it's a ton of fun, and it has a real tongue-in-cheek way of doing it. So it's right up my alley.
I think
But
in
anyway,
many
this
ways it earns its violence though. Maybe
yeah.
not for every episode, but like that which episode was that, season 1 or season 2, when they drive the boat through the whale?
Oh, that's season 2. Yeah,
That's
season 2.
Yeah.
like that was one of the most outrageous and absolutely insane scenes from the entire show.
Dude.
It's like the deep brings us all the most ridiculous things. Because my other favorite is when he's talking to the dolphin that he had sex with, and it's in the back of the van, and it launches the dolphin. It's like the most outrageous thing. It's so outrageous.
Yeah. So Back Your TARDIS says, how would you compare this cartoon to Invincible? So Invincible is much more story driven. This cartoon, The Boys Diabolical, is a cartoon spin-off of the show that kind of tackles like 20-minute episodes, 15-minute episodes of just like short stories. And they're all done in separate animation styles. There's some that are like Pokemon, there's some that are like the classic Superman cartoons from like the 90s. Looney Tunes style. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like there's a bunch of different styles. Very much I would compare it more to Star Wars Visions, I think.
Yeah.
Like 15, 20-minute episodes, each very unique, each different. None of them really tie together. That's kind of more what this is. And it just came out a couple weeks ago, and I wanted to check it out. And I watched it, and now I have to talk about it because it's freaking bananas. Like, as crazy as the show is, this cartoon, they literally just said, do whatever you guys want to do, make it work. It doesn't matter. Like, there's no stopping the animation people. They're just like, oh, we want to have a guy with boobs on his face, let's have a guy with boobs on his face.
He's got a little bit of something for everybody, right?
Episode 2 was too much, man.
Dude, all right, so let's get into it. The first episode on the list is Laser Baby's Day Out. Basic plot line. This is like a Looney Tunes type cartoon where somebody who works at Vought, he's like a doctor, he works with these young kids. This little baby who has laser eyes as their superpower escapes the facility and just runs amok in the town. And it's just hijinks after hijinks. You know, they end up in a zoo and a bunch of crazy things happen. But this is not one of my favorite episodes. I don't think we have to spend a ton of time talking about it. It was one of those things where, like, the only thing that I found funny about it was the amount of just devastation this little baby had brought upon people. Like, the SWAT team came and tried to take it back to the Vought facility, and the baby like sneezed and like blew everybody's brains out. And it was like just nonsense gore everywhere. It was horrible and terrible and gross. But that's kind of what this episode. What did you guys think about this one? This is not my favorite one. I didn't really like it that much. Tom, what about you?
I actually quit watching the whole show halfway through episode 2 and said, this show sucks. Like, I can't, it's too stupid. It was cartoony and dumb. So I actually only watched half of episode 1 and half of episode 2. And I said, okay, if episode 3 don't get me, then I'm not watching anymore. So really, I didn't really even, I mean, I get it. It was fun. It was like Looney Tunesy. The second one's got a little bit more of like a Rick and Morty vibe.
Yeah.
You know, but the third one, that was the boys vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, and
the third episode is by far my favorite. Yeah.
Oh, so, it's brutal, right?
It's so terrible, but it's butcher.
For me, you can skip 1 and 2. Start with number 3, and it's pretty fun after that.
Okay, Andre, what do you think about these first 2 episodes?
So I got through 5 episodes before tonight's recording. So I haven't finished the series yet, but by far and away, my favorite one was number 4.
Okay.
And genuinely is probably the only one that I can say that I actually liked.
Number 4?
Yeah.
The social media one?
Yeah, Boyd in 3D. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The first one.
Tell me more.
The first one was okay. I think the animation style is what spoke to me the most, not necessarily the story.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hate the story, but it was just kind of cool seeing something like in the Looney Tunes style. Number 2, man. Number 2 is so outrageous, man. It genuinely was like they told the animators or the story writer, do whatever the hell you want to.
Yeah.
We don't care. And they literally did whatever they wanted to. And it was just like, oh my gosh.
So we'll talk about episode 2 real quick then. Episode 2 is an animated short where pissed off soups kill their parents. And then the actual description for this episode is, the title says it all and kind of gives away the ending. Let's just say it's cathartic and messy. There's no rules for this episode, dude. There's no rules. So these Vought teenagers, so in the actual TV show, the live action TV show, it's we find out in season 2 that Vought has actually been drugging young babies with this superpowered juice to give them superpowers. The superpowered people are not naturally born. They're given these powers. It's a big conspiracy that we get revealed to in season 2. And this episode explores what happens when the superpowers that they get given are dumb and terrible.
These are the rejects.
These are the rejects. This is like the opposite of Homelander. Like Homelander is Superman, and there's like another character who just has boobs on his face, and that's his superpower. Like literally, that's it.
My favorite was Agua. It was just water.
Oh,
it was
just
water.
Just in the pool.
You guys remember the one that's just a pile of muscle? Like this is so and so. He's just a pile of pure muscle, and
he was a tongue, wasn't he? He was just tongue.
Yeah, it was just a tongue.
He was a human tongue, and so he had no bones or skeletal structure. He was just a tongue.
It's terrible. It's terrible. And there's a couple other ones. There's ones where this one chick has just like giant sharp teeth, and she literally can't close her mouth. So every time the character talks, it's just like it's so ridiculous. But anyway, these kids.
Mo Slow.
Yeah. Oh, Mo Slow. He's going so slow.
Yeah, Mo Slow. Mo Slow was funny. That was
he goes to strangle his dad. His dad has a full-on conversation as he's like attempting to strangle him.
But they go gruesome with him too, because he like he uses a knife to kill somebody, and it's in such slow motion that they like show every grotesque detail of the whole thing. It was ridiculous. But yeah, this episode, like, it was kind of messed up. Like, I didn't feel good watching it, but at the same time, it was ridiculously funny. Especially there was the one dude whose superpower was he could read paper. So, like, he stands in the middle of the room and the paper starts swirling around him. And he's like, I can read every piece of paper in this room.
Stupid, man. It's so stupid. Oh, my gosh.
And then the narrator, there's another character who narrates the entire episode. And we learn that he's actually a person who has a superpower. And his superpower is narrating life. Yep. And it's just, oh, gosh. Like you said, the writers just went ham on this one. They were like, let's think of the most ludicrous things possible. And go for it. But it was honestly though, it was like one of the sadder episodes, because if you really break it down, you take away all the craziness and you just watch the episode. Like, these children are betrayed by their parents for money and fame. Like, these parents want to get famous off of them, and they learn of this betrayal, and they're like, they want revenge because they're mutilated and they're not able to function as a normal person, and it's these parents who sold them out. It's their fault. And they go on this revenge quest, and they are successful to a point, but then at the end of the episode, Homelander shows up and puts a stop to everybody, and it was a really tragic, sad episode, punctuated by just grotesque gore.
Hey, you didn't talk about Picante.
Remind me, who's that?
He's the guy whose genitalia is like extremely hot.
Yes, that's
it's
right.
Like
oh
red
my
hot
god,
genitalia.
It was so stupid. It has burning hot balls. Yes, it was terrible. I can't believe we're still talking about these nonsense characters.
Oh my god.
Hey, speaking of booby face, you know Kevin Smith is booby face.
No way.
Yeah, I'm looking at the cast right now.
Oh
yeah,
my
Kevin
gosh.
Smith is booby face.
Yeah,
I had no idea. Good for him.
And Justin Roland from Rick and Morty, he does Papers.
Okay.
So it's very Rick
sense.
and Morty. The whole episode is very Rick and Morty. Yeah,
very much so. Same animation style, everything. Backyard TARDIS says, talking about counter programming, one of these Mondays, me and Alex and Andrew should talk Red versus Blue. I am down for that, Nick. Let's make it happen, dude. Red versus Blue is a fantastic TV show.
Well, with Halo coming out, it's the right time.
It's the right time. Let's dive back into Red versus Blue. Yes, sir.
It's the right time.
All right, let's talk about my favorite episode, episode 3, I'm Your Pusher. Ripped from the pages of the original The Boys comic, Billy Butcher and with terror in tow terrorize a narcotic supplier into spiking a certain soup's fix. So this episode, it's done in the animation style of like the classic Batman, Superman from the 90s and early 2000s, it speaks right to me. I love that animation style. And Billy Butcher is one of my favorite characters in this show. So he goes on a tirade, as he always does, and he finds that there's a certain drug dealer that supplies the superheroes with something. and I can't remember the superhero's name, but he flies. He's like that's all he does. That's his superpowers. He just flies. But Butcher learns that his preferred way of getting high is with a freaking like a meth enema.
No, it's a heroin enema. Yeah,
heroin enema. Yeah.
Yeah, heroin enema.
So he blackmails this guy into spiking this guy's next fix with some kind of a crazy drug, and he ends up doing it.
This is a cartoon we're talking about.
Yeah, this is a cartoon, dude.
Yeah, this is a cartoon we're talking about.
I mean, it's like these are not for kids. I mean,
no.
These are not for kids.
No. And you know, but the first one kind of tricks you. It's like if we go back to kind of Invincible. The first episode of Invincible kind of tricks you. It tricks you into thinking this isn't what it's going to be. And then by the end of Invincible, the first episode, you're like, my God, I did not know it was going to be like this. And this is very, very similar. It starts off soft and cute, but gets real crazy real fast.
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
Boys.
Anyway, short end of the story is Butcher drugs this superhero using his own drugs. He just kind of like spikes it and makes it crazy. And this dude gets so high off of this drug that he literally flies himself into another superhero called Iron Cast, I believe, which is kind of like an Iron Man type character, but he's like naturally just made out of like metal. And he flies directly into him, crushes himself, and then also kills this other guy. And it's just like, it's in the middle of this big ceremony where Homelander's like presenting this award to the superhero, like, we're inducting you into the Superhero Hall of Fame, and like in front of thousands of like screaming fans, this dude just like smashes himself into this other character, and it's just freaking blood everywhere.
Punches a hole right through him, rips out his spine.
And the ending scene is just Billy Butcher just smiling, going, "I told you it's gonna be a great day." I was just like, yes. This is by far my favorite episode. It was so bananas and so crazy, and Billy is one of the best characters in the show, and it was just like, it was awesome to see him in action again.
So did you know who voiced that superhero, the flying superhero?
What was his name? Sky High or something? No, who was it?
Michael Cera.
Wonder.
Michael
Cera.
Yeah,
is that Michael Cera?
Scott Pilgrim, Superbad, Juno.
Oh my God, no way!
Michael Cera. Yeah,
that's awesome. Scott Pilgrim. All right, so the next episode 4. Andre, you said this is your favorite one, so go ahead, man, take it away. What's this one all about?
You take the lead on that one. That's a weird one. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it was very weird. It was very weird, but I think this one had the most substance in terms of just like actually having like a moral to the story.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you meet. Let me pull this one up. I think, was his name Boyd? I think that had So you meet a guy named Boyd. He's just a regular human. He's not a superhero. He lives in an apartment building, and he has this like crush on a girl that he is trying to work up the courage to ask out, but he knows that she's in a relationship. Anyway, he goes to a clinic that has created this cream that, once applied, will turn you into the thing that you want to be the most. Okay. And so it's like a self-willing transformation. Mm-hmm. And so he goes, they apply the cream, and it turns him into, I believe it was like a filter on Instagram or Snapchat that turned him into Homelander. Wasn't that? I think it was. So he becomes incredibly buff. He's ripped. He's huge. And he goes back to his apartment, and he meets the girl who just broke up with her boyfriend. So they fall in love, start dating, fall in love. It shows them going back to his apartment to get busy. And while they're both asleep, she wakes up and goes to the bathroom, and she sees the cream without knowing what it was. And she applies it to herself. And the next morning, she's like this human cat thing, right? And so she had always wanted to be a cat, so it transformed her into this like human cat. Well,
even better, he's super into it. He's like, oh, yeah, okay.
He is very into it, and they keep dating, but then they like become like this kind of celebrity couple, and with that comes all this fame and like social media celebrity. Ultimately, it kind of they start to drift apart. it ruins their relationship. They become bitter and spiteful toward each other.
Mhm.
Ultimately, until the cream runs out and they have to transform back into their normal selves. But as time goes by, they kind of reunite and kind of get reacquainted again. And I liked it, man. I thought the story itself was very well written within this universe of the boys and crazy superhero stuff. And I don't know, I thought it had a good message for kind of our modern world and how obsessed we are with social media
social media
and
Instagram
just
and
celebrity obsession culture, and just like and also showing that these people's lives who we kind of are obsessed with, they're not that great.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
if
it's
you
all
like
it's all a filter. It's all photos.
Yeah.
Like they could take a selfie of themselves smiling at some beach, and then 15 minutes later they're miserable and they're hating each other. Yeah,
Yeah,
So
like that.
I do agree
There's
with
one
you.
specific scene though. There's one specific scene that I thought was really stand out, and that was when they're in the pool together,
Mhm.
and they grab each other's phones, and their like pool floaties start to drift apart while they're just like on their phones checking their notifications. I thought, man, I was like, man, that is a really great scene right there. So
Man, you were
Nice.
loving the
Anyway.
romance, weren't you?
Yeah.
it just I don't know.
It's a beautiful story. Just
story that
just
spoke to
hearing
me,
you
man.
tell me, it's like like, through your eyes. It's like a whole different experience.
I mean, I'd probably
So-
apply the cream, so I'd probably do.
Yeah.
You don't need to. You're a good looking dude. Real quick, shout out to Sean who's in the chat. What's up, dude? I haven't
What's
seen you
up,
in forever,
Sean?
man.
What's up,
It's good to see
Sean?
you again, buddy. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. So I want to bring this up because I do agree with you. This is has a great message to it, and it's very deep. But at the very, very end of this episode, we get Boyd, who is sitting at the Voight doctor's office or whatever, and
I didn't want to bring up that.
they smash cut to him like he's in this world. What we've been seeing for the past 15 minutes or so is exactly what you described, but then it smash cuts to him at the same seat that we see him get into at the very beginning of the episode when he first gets the face cream applied, and his face is like completely melted, and then his freaking head explodes. So my question to you,
As they take a picture of it.
as they take a picture of it, my question to you, was the entire episode a dream that he had before his death? Because it very easily could have been he sat down, applied the cream, imagined what was going to happen, but then cut to real life and it completely disfigures him and he dies. So do you think that's accurate, or was it a linear story?
I took it as a linear story. I'd have to go back and watch it again, kind of with that in mind. Maybe I wasn't paying attention to that final scene enough. I just figured, they weren't going to let it end as nicely as it did when they kind of got reunited. And he's like, "I like your freckles."
Yeah.
Like this is still the boys, so we have to like kind of have that more, crazy factor. But no, I kind of took it as a linear story. What gave you the impression maybe that it was a dream that he had?
I
Because
got the same
it's-
impression. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's the
Dream
boys,
sequence.
and exactly what you just said. There's no way they would have ended it that nicely. My impression of it was this was what he imagined his life might have been like if he had actually succeeded in his transformation. But what actually happened, reality is much, much darker. And what actually happened is he got disfigured.
Interesting.
And died.
I guess I
So-
just took it as like he just used too much of it.
Mhm.
And these were the consequences.
I think it's open ended. I think you could very well be right.
Yeah.
Like I think there's enough to go both ways on that one. But I just thought it was interesting
We'll
that
never know.
I know. Yeah, we'll never know the truth.
Hey, somebody email Michael Sarah, see if he has any input on that.
I'll send him a link to the Discord. All right, so episode 5, BFFs. This episode, this is when I kind of just like I lost all hope in this
Are you
show.
kidding me? Do you know this is my favorite episode?
Please, Tom, if it's your
Really?
favorite episode,
Okay.
I
Take-
swear it is.
take it
Okay.
away, dude. Take it away.
Okay. Aquafina. Aquafina is like my new George Clooney. I want to hate George Clooney. Everything about George Clooney, I want to hate him because he's pompous and arrogant and crappy. And every time I see him in something, my God, I love him. He's just the best. That's exactly how I feel about Aquafina. God, I hate Aquafina. I hate her
That's funny.
name. I think it's all stupid. Every time I see her in anything, the chick sparkles, man. She's funny. She's funny.
Yeah.
And the stuff that
Yeah.
she writes in there, I mean, the episode is absolutely ridiculous. It's about a girl who's trying to be friends with some popular girls, and it doesn't go very well.
Mhm.
And she gets tricked into buying drugs from a drug dealer, and ends up getting the Vox. What is it called?
Compound V.
Compound V.
Compound
She gets
V.
a hold of Compound V and she drinks it, but instead of like it directly giving her powers, it gives her shit powers. So like Aquafina wrote and starred in this whole thing, and so she shits out this little gremlin, and it's got like a marble and a piece of corn and like a spaghetti noodle coming out of it, and the things that they say to each other are absolutely outrageous. But I've seen this episode like 3 times, and there's this part where Aquafina's talking to her turd and telling her about how much she loved her mother, and like her mother's name was Georgia and she was so beautiful, and every time she hears the word Georgia it makes her tear up inside, and she's like, okay, well, how about we call me Areola, because every time I hear that word Georgia it makes me sick. And I'm like, this is the funniest thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
So Aquafina names her live turd Areola.
Areola.
And the Deep shows up halfway through the episode to
Oh my gosh.
to destroy this live turd that has magical powers.
There's a reason the Deep is there, and I don't know why.
Well,
Other than you get turds thrown at him at the end of the episode. Because,
that was amazing, dude.
Yeah,
like,
as it turns out, her power is like turd
she controls.
kinesis. Yeah, turd kinesis.
She can control and manipulate shit.
No, she animates them. They come to life. It's
I know.
terrifying. It is
They all have
terrifying.
That ending scene where she's in her
Little
bedroom
running around. It's terrifying.
and she's just completely surrounded by little turds running around with like bows in their hair.
It's so funny. It's so funny. And she calls them her turd friends.
Yeah.
I'm like, I am dying. I hate you, Aquafina, but you make me love you. Good job.
The whole time I was watching this episode, I couldn't help but think, I'm like, oh my God, this girl smells so bad.
Oh, yeah. And because it's Aquafina, it's funnier.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Everything about her says no, but even in Shang-Chi, I loved her in Shang-Chi.
She was good in Shang-Chi. She was
so
really good.
Yeah, she was so good in Shang-Chi. And once again, she just proves me wrong that I have to watch her stupid show. And I'm going to do it eventually, and I'm going to love it, and it's going to be terrible.
Oh, man. So, Andre, I know you said you only got to episode 5. Episode 6, I didn't really care for. It was about this couple who were both superpowers that like were going to get divorced, but her kid wants them to get together. At the end, the kid finally decides like this isn't worth it. Just get divorced. It was a terrible episode. I didn't like it.
No, Aisha Tyler wrote that one and starred in that one.
Yeah, I didn't care for that one. So,
Aisha Tyler.
No good. And then the next episode, John and Sun Hee. This was a very interesting one, and I think if I were to like watch it again and kind of like dive a little bit deeper into it, I think it might be one of those ones that has like a really deeper meaning. But this old man is trying to save his dying wife. She has some form of cancer. She's terminal, and he decides that Compound V is the best way to save her life. So he injects her with Compound V to try and fight the cancer, and it turns out that doing so turns her literal cancer into a supervillain. And it's like this giant ball of cancer that like feeds off of people, and it like runs and it eats people, and it gets bigger every time it does.
Akira vibes, right?
Yeah. It gets real weird. And at the end of the episode, the dying grandmother decides that it's her, because it's part of her. It's her sickness that is causing all this chaos, that she is the one who has to destroy it. So she uses the Compound V to kind of soup herself up, and she becomes like freaking Super Saiyan. She starts glowing. Her eyes get red. She goes freaking full on, Homelander, and she sacrifices herself to destroy the cancer. And I was watching it. I'm like, on the surface, it's a pretty basic storyline, but I started thinking about it a little bit more, and I'm like, that's a pretty. I think there's some deeper meaning behind that, like going after your illness and being the one to destroy it.
Well, that's
I'm sad I missed this episode.
Yeah, and she's mad at him the whole time because she's supposed to die.
Yeah,
and he tricks death for her.
Yeah,
totally against her wishes. And so the whole it is a dark, weird episode. Yeah. It's worth rewatching. It's a dark, weird episode.
Yeah, I think, Andre, if you're gonna watch any of the rest of them, I definitely check out episode 7. It's weird, but like it's very dark, and I think you could probably chew on that one for a little bit.
Mhm.
All right, so episode 8, the final episode of the season. 1 + 1 = 2. So this one is it kind of goes back into Homelander's like origin story type.
Mhm.
Like
It's like his
we've
first day
seen,
at work, kind of.
yeah, his first day on the job as Homelander. It's still at this point in time he's still called the Homelander. He hasn't dropped the in his title. And it's his first big job. There's like a terrorist attack on some kind of a fueling facility that I don't know, a chemical plant or something like that creates gasoline or whatever.
That's good enough.
Yeah, whatever it
it's
is.
good enough.
And you know, they're there. They've got hostages, and Homelander gets called on his first gig to go and take care of the situation. And he's got an earpiece in, and Vought is like, "Hey, don't go in until Black Noir gets there. Black Noir is your lead. You're going to follow his orders, and then don't do anything until he gets there, because don't trust Homelander at this point. He's still too new, and they're worried he's going to mess up." And he takes offense to this because he's Homelander. He's got a huge ego. Like, he is completely ego driven. So he takes real offense to the fact that Black Noir is kind of like his babysitter, and he goes in there and just screws everything up. Just murders everybody by accident somehow, and like completely loses control of the entire situation. Ends up like blowing the actual chemical plant up. Like he accidentally laser eyes like a tank, and it just like freaking explodes, and it's all his fault. Everybody dies. And at the end of the episode, he's like, he sees Black Noir, and Black Noir, he immediately thinks, "You're going to go tell on me, and you're going to throw me under the bus." So he tries to fight Black Noir, and there's like this little battle sequence between the two of them. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the source material for this show, who Black Noir is.
Because I listened to the Salty Nerd podcast.
Oh boy. Yeah, so there's a real history there with Black Noir that I'm not going to say it on this live stream because I don't want to spoil it, because it's a huge revelation, and I'm not sure when the show is going to reveal it. So but it's a big deal, and I was really curious about like how they were going to play this, because I don't know if they're going to follow the comic books or if they're going to do their own thing for the TV show. I'm really, really curious about that. But it was a fun kind of look into like the history of Homelander, where he came from, his attitude going in. He was very much, he wanted to do the right thing when he first started. Like, he wanted to be the hero that everybody thinks he is. He just fails epically at it, and he just goes on its head. So he kind of just runs with it. But JT's like, "Alex, do you watch these with your wife?" No. My wonderful wife is a Hallmark type girl, man. She don't watch any of this stuff. Oh, thank you, Backyard Titus. Yes, your podcast is as good as watching the show. We appreciate that, man. We put a lot of work into making sure that you feel like you've seen the episode after you get done watching our podcast. So I appreciate that. But yeah, that's it. That's all 8 episodes. I think for sure my favorite one has got to be episode 3 with Billy Butcher, and then episode 5. It was not my favorite, but God, it was so bananas with the freaking walking, talking turds. And then episode 8 was cool because I like the animation style, and it was a little bit more true to the show itself, and it had less humor and more just like interesting story and character development. So it was a lot of fun. What were your favorite episodes? Tom, you said, is episode 5 your favorite? The walking turd?
Anytime where I can genuinely laugh out loud at something, it's a cool moment.
Okay.
Like if I sit by myself and watch a program and I literally laugh out loud, like not just LOL, but like literally laugh out loud. and that episode got me like 2 or 3 times where I literally laugh out loud funny. Okay. And, you just don't get that enough anymore. And just the way that comedy I don't know. I don't want comedy to go the way of the wokeism, and I want things to be raunchy, and I want things to be dirty, and it was raunchy and dirty, and it was funny. It was just stupid. Other than that, episode 8's the only one you really got to watch. That's boys. It does give you some backstory. The other ones don't really have much to do with the show, other than they're fun to watch. Each one has a different vibe, different directors, different writers. It's a cool vibe. It's fun to watch. Aquafina's hanging in there, man. I don't know how she's doing it, but she gets me every time, man. That chick's funny.
So Andre, out of the 5 that you've seen, which one was your favorite? You said number 4, Boyd in 3D, right?
Yeah, but you guys almost convinced me with episode 7. That one sounds really good. But
cool.
I plan on watching the whole show anyway. I think I liked it enough to at least finish it. And I'm not really one to start a show and not finish it. But yeah, definitely episode 4. I think that one probably spoke to me the most.
Okay. I was gonna say if you're gonna skip any of them, skip episode 6. It was kind of a turd. Not a fun walking turd. It was a slow moving, quiet turd. But anyway, all right. Well, that's it for the boys Diabolical. I would suggest checking it out if you're a fan of the TV show. If you like that show already, this is right up your alley. It just gets crazy and wacky, and like we said at the beginning, they hold nothing back. The animators had like free reign to do whatever they wanted, so it was cool. But thanks everybody for being here tonight. It was really cool. Real quick before we end, I can't believe it's been an hour already. That's crazy. Right now, starting in about 15 minutes or so, we're going to be doing a live watch party of Eureka, episode 10 of season 1. It's called Purple Haze. And that's for our club members, but it's open to the public. So if you guys hop into our Discord app, go to saltynerddiscord.com, jump in, we'll give you a role, and you'll be able to watch the show with us tonight. So we have a lot of fun doing that, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in the watch party. Andre, one of the biggest reasons why I had you on tonight, not only are you a super cool dude that I miss talking to, but you have recently reached out and got your podcast onto the YouTube platform. So tell people about it, man. I'm looking forward to seeing your videos.
Cool. Yeah. So I started Backseat Directors as a podcast back in March of 2017. So almost exactly 5 years ago. And I was pretty consistent for the first 2 years. Somewhat consistent for the third year, and then the pandemic hit and kind of the whole world hit the fan. And but I was having fun with the podcast, but I was kind of losing that spark, just that it's really the only thing that could keep you going when this is just a hobby, when you have a daytime job and you spend hours doing this every day. And I have a friend though that was doing a lot of podcast episodes with me that encouraged me to give YouTube a shot. And so for the last few months, we've been kind of prepping, getting just Backseat Directors ready for its debut on YouTube. And so right now we have just a few episodes on there right now. We plan on doing a weekly show that will go anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes. That will be just kind of a more broad conversation on movies and things like that. But and then I'll pepper in my own individual videos, probably a couple times a week and things like that. But Backseat Directors, it's a movie discussion channel. But I guess one of the things that I like to think that kind of separates us from the rest is one, I hate rating movies. I think the concept of rating movies is so arbitrary and not really rooted in anything. We just come up with numbers in our head and apply it without any type of, sophisticated method of saying a movie is actually, worth this many numbers or stars or whatever. But what I like to say is that I prefer to recommend movies instead of rate them.
Okay.
So that's going to be something that I do every Friday. I'm going to have a quick episode just of recommending movies that people have maybe never heard of. Try to expand people's horizons and tastes and things that they usually watch. But yeah, and I also pride myself in just having the most honest and genuine dialogue about movies that I possibly can. That I'm not here to I'm not here to kiss up to any studio and say that whatever Star Wars or Marvel movie you're making, even if you made $1 billion, I'm not going to say it's good when it's not good. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it just because it's from a franchise that I love. I will not bend the knee to these corporations. And so if anyone is looking for additional great movie dialogue outside of the Salty Nerd podcast, check out Backseat Directors.
That's awesome. I don't know if my sound will translate to you guys, but you have one of the best opening little jingle. I listen to your podcast and I rewind the first minute just so I can listen to your song. And then when I saw you put your visuals to it for the YouTube channel, and I was like, God damn it, that's so good. Can you guys hear that?
No.
Okay.
I know there's a way.
Yeah, there's a button. Yeah, there's a button.
It's got to be. I think it's got to be through Google Chrome. But anyway, so go to Backseat Directors podcast on YouTube, click on the first video that comes up, and just enjoy the intro. It is one of the best intros. If it doesn't go viral and become like ultra famous, I'm gonna steal it from you. I'm gonna just buy it off of you and be like, it's mine now. Because it's glorious.
Thanks. No, I appreciate it. Yeah, no, I came up with the concept and the idea, but it was actually my neighbor. He's a good friend of mine. He's an incredible digital artist, and so he kind of created what I had envisioned it to be. And so
it's so good, dude. Like, I can't praise it enough. It's so much fun, and I would highly suggest you guys check it out. If you like movies as much as I do, you guys will love their podcast. So go check it out.
Thanks,
Tom,
man.
what have you got going on lately?
Oh, I'm watching lots of movies and things, stuff that we don't talk about sometimes. Since I was talking about, a good laugh, there's a show I watched, just finished the second season. I Think You Should Leave is what the show's called. It's on Netflix.
Okay.
It's very Tim and Eric, just absolutely hilarious to me. I watch this crap and I'll throw up laughing, man. I Think You Should Leave, one of the funniest things on TV right now. Season 2 just came out. Give it a watch. You'll if you're half like me, you'll die laughing. It's the best. Andre, good luck, man. It sounds like you're off to a good start, and just stay busy with it, man. That's all I got to say. Just stay busy.
Yeah, no, thanks. I appreciate it. And hey, we will undoubtedly have the Salty crew on Backseat Director, so we'll make that happen.
Yes, absolutely. I'm down for whatever.
Little cross pollination there.
Heck yeah, dude. Let's do it. Let's get that YouTube channel jump started. Thank you, Backyard TARDIS, for the $2 super chat. It says, go subscribe to the Backseat Directors now. Yep, I agree.
Nick.
Thank you, Nick. Nick is awesome, dude. He's everywhere. He supports every podcast that I even know of. I'm like, he supports podcasts that I've never heard of, and I'm like, there's times when I'm like, I think Nick is cheating on me. Oh man. All right, guys, that's it for tonight's live stream. Thanks for joining us. Hope you guys had a good time. I'm looking forward to seeing you. Andre, can I convince you to join our Discord and come watch a TV show with us?
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that. We'll have to talk about that. I feel like I'm getting so old trying to learn new social media.
Oh man.
Apps and things like that is becoming more challenging. But yeah,
I still haven't got. I mean, Tom, I got to give it to Tom. Tom hasn't even jumped on Discord yet. He's like,
I've tried. You couldn't get it to work either.
That's because you got a freaking Android phone, dude. I don't know what's wrong with you.
Whatever, man. Dude, I tried so hard, and you were like, just give me the stupid thing. And you're like, give it back. This is dumb. It doesn't work.
Backyard TARDIS. I listened to 62 active podcasts. Good God,
goodness.
Dude. That's incredible.
Awesome,
and he supports 50 of them. That's like insane.
Jeez.
All right, everybody. That's it for the Salty Nerd Podcast. Late night edition. Thanks for joining us. Tune in next week. We might just do Red versus Blue. We'll see. I don't know. I kind of wing these episodes. These are just for me to kind of goof around and have a good time. So
Red versus Blue is goof around material, man. It's like 10 years of comedy that you have to have a lot of backlog to know anything about.
Yeah, here's the thing though, is like I feel like I would want to share clips. And I know as soon as I do that, I'm going to get freaking copyright claimed and demonetized.
Maybe the old stuff. Maybe the old stuff.
I don't know. I mean, as far as I know, some of the best stuff is from the first 2 seasons. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, that was when it was really good.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Last time. Good night. Have a great week. And tune in tomorrow, Tuesday morning. We are doing Mad Max. All 4 of them on Twitter Spaces. So head over to Twitter at @salty_nerd. It's going to be like a 4-hour epic Mad Max romp. Jude has promised to drink early, and I will be joining her, so it's going to be a fantastic time. We will see you guys there tomorrow live on Twitter Spaces. All right, everybody. Good night.